Welcome into Missing the Point on the 617, presented by Crowworthy. I'm Joe Malkin alongside Rayshawn Buchanan and from Parts Unknown, Mike Marcangelo. Guys, it's time to talk about some football. And I think we all have some anger to get out. Maybe not. Maybe Mike is going to be really cheery towards this team right now. But Patriots preseason starts on the 11th of August when they take on the New York Giants at Gillette Stadium. Then they'll play the Panthers, and then they'll play the Raiders to round out their preseason 3-week schedule, which I still love that they went to 3 weeks. I plan on going to the game, and I want to preface this entire show by saying I have season tickets and will be attending games. So whatever comes after that, deal with it. So, guys, let's talk about this camp so far that the Patriots have been going through. We've heard a lot more negatives than positives, and we're talking about from beat writers like Karen Gregan, who's a friend of the show, from Mike Reese, who I met his father actually this summer down the Cape, and some other people around the team have said that things haven't looked good. And it's come out this week that rookie quarterback Bailey Zappi may look better than second-year quarterback Mac Jones. Matthew Judon said this week is on record as saying Juwan Bentley is the heartbeat of the defense. So I'm going to go to Mike because Mike's a big fan of the heartbeat of teams. Mike, let's talk about this Patriots team and the start of training camp up in Foxborough and what your thoughts are 2 weeks in.
Yeah, I think this is going to be different, right? It's a new offensive scheme. We know that this is no longer going to be the offense of the last 20 years. I think Mac is. I think he was the perfect quarterback to take when they took him. I still would have taken Justin Fields. Still pissed off about that. But that being said, when you hear the first week out of camp that the receivers can't get open, you're just thinking to myself, like, they're not going up against Ty Law and Asante Samuel. Like, what's happening here? And then the next week is, well, Mac doesn't Mac has to take too long to throw the ball, so he's scrambling in non-scramble drills. And then this week it's they can't even protect him. I think it's an abomination so far. And I've heard a lot of positive things about the defense, but I don't think that you can really grade the defense positively if all we're hearing is that the offense is terrible. Right? I think maybe this is just Belichick not showing his hand, not doing really anything in front of the cameras. Who really knows? But if you go by what the beat writers are saying, and Mike Reese, he'll be a friend of the show, but that man is he loves the Patriots. He never really says bad things about them. So for him to come out and say that the practice was horrible and all of these things, like, it's bad. So I don't know how you can hear these things and see what you're seeing and think, oh, this is going to be another competitive season. It might be, but it isn't going to be based off of what we've seen so far.
My favorite part is there was a video circulating on Twitter, and it was, look at this connection between Mac Jones and Devontae Parker. And Devontae Parker went up and basically one-handed it, got 2 feet down in the end zone. And then someone comments and says, wow, that's even against Jalen Mills. And I'm like, he stinks. So speaking of Jalen Mills and the defense, Rayshawn Buchanan, tell me about your thoughts on the first 2 weeks of training camp here and what you've seen.
I'm not encouraged. I'm not encouraged at all. I think that, we always talk about the defense is usually ahead of the offense at this time of the year anyway. So to hear that they've had a decent camp so far is not like, oh my God, I'm bought into what they're going to be defensively. I just think obviously we know Bill knows how to, teach defense and coach defense. So that's something that's always going to be there. So there'll be guys that overperform there. As far as the Judon comment about Juwan Bentley being the heartbeat, I would hope not. Like number 9, Mr. Red Sleeves, you need to be the heartbeat. He's one of the heartbeats of the defense. Like McCourty still, even at his age, Duggar needs to be that. So Once again, I want Juwan Billy to have an excellent season because he adds something to defense. But this, Uche and Jennings, we'll talk about those guys later on. But yeah, it's not encouraging to hear that the offense is not doing well when both lines are involved. Like they've been fine for 1-on-1s or 7-on-7s, without any line. So yeah, they got to get the offensive line fixed, and obviously Starnecki is not coming back, so they need to figure something out there, like and fast. Like like obviously they got 3 weeks to figure it out, but they really need to do something, especially the offensive line. But hopefully Thursday that all that stuff changes at least.
I mean, but do you really think that we're gonna get anything out of this game on Thursday? I mean, I hope not. I hope that this is that this is the Bailey Zappi show or whatever his name is, right? Like I don't need. Thank you. I don't need to see anything out of the first team offense, because I do think that as much as Belichick gets credit for coaching up defenses with no players on them when you have Tom Brady as a starting quarterback, I do think he can scheme an offensive line, and whether we'll find that out. Maybe he just has always had a great offensive line coach, But it really it worries me when you hear things like these, like Devontae Parker. He's not all world anymore, or he hasn't been, right, in like the last 2 years. But if he can't find separation between Jalen Mills and the ghost of Malcolm Butler, what's going to happen when he actually goes against real number 1 DBs? And we thought Mac got killed last year. They had a relatively good offensive line, sticking to what we're hearing so far in camp. So you just don't want to see him get hurt. That's what it's looking like.
Yeah, and it's tough to see a guy like Joe Burrow go to a Super Bowl as the highest sacked quarterback in the NFL. They bolster their offensive line to protect their investment, and your investment is Mac Jones, and they don't go out and protect that investment. And speaking of protecting that investment, his veteran center and captain, David Andrews, today got into a fight with second-year defensive lineman Christian Barmore. And we see this all around the NFL. We've seen fights in Raiders camp and some of these other camps, and the Patriots rule is you fight, you get kicked out. That's from Mike Reese himself 7 hours ago, from the point of recording on Twitter. So Barmore was seen leaving the field, and Andrews kind of hung out on the field. I'm sure he hung around and then left himself. So now we're having fighting issues down there, something we don't normally hear about if it does happen. And it's coming from a guy like David Andrews and someone who we thought was a mild-mannered Christian Barmore. I'm going to go back to Mike with this question first, and then I want to hear from Ray as well. But Mike, I mean, is this frustrations boiling over from the players?
I just think that it's interesting that David Andrews is the one that's getting into fights. Typically, maybe Barmore got too close to Mac, but I think that fighting at this, like Ray just mentioned, at this stage of camp is indicative of people caring and you getting into it and everything like that. I just think that it's interesting that the offensive lineman is the person that's voicing his concern for what he's seeing, as opposed to, Mac Jones, the quarterback of the team, or somebody else, a more prominent figure, for the public. But yeah, I think, fighting is good. I think as long as you don't hurt the other person, I think that just shows. I think it just shows that you care. It is interesting, though, just to belabor that point, that you would expect the quarterback of the team to be the most vocal, or a running back or a wide receiver, but it's not. It's alignment.
Which is in some cases all right. Sometimes you have the quiet, the quiet big guys. Joe Thomas had a great career in Cleveland, and he was one of the quietest guys in the NFL, but he was always so fun to watch. It's too bad he had to spend his whole career in Cleveland, but I think he was all right with that. So then let's look a little bit deeper and go back to what Mike said about Thursday's preseason game against the New York Giants. where we don't need to see much out of the first team. Mike, I don't really need to see anything out of the players. I think this is a tune-up for the coaches, and I think they need one. We got to talk about it because you and I talked about it with Karen, Mike, and we've talked about it on this show between the three of us before. And it's kind of the elephant in the room that there is no assigned offensive and defensive coordinators on the New England Patriots. There are 32 teams in the league. 31 of them have offensive and defensive coordinators. And Bill has been, quoted as, well, not quoted. He said it in an audio press conference that, these titles change all the time, and it doesn't matter what their titles are. Basically, that part's paraphrasing. While I disagree, there are some reasons around why he hasn't named an offensive coordinator that seems to be coming from multiple sources. Is that Matt Patricia and Joe Judge came back to the Patriots on the cheap because they're being paid by the Lions and the Giants, respectively, and the thought is that if they were given a higher title, a coordinator title, the Patriots would have to pay them. That said, it's very strange. And for me, this is a big night to see what's the play calling like, what's the personnel calls. And I guess, Mike, again, back to you here, because I kind of came off of your thought on what this game wants to show us. But what do you expect to see, and what do you want to see from this coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just think if at the end of this game you can say that the offensive line created, 8 chances for a running back to break off a big run and gain some yardage, then that means that whoever's calling the offensive plays, they know how to do that. I'm not expecting flea flickers or the old school 2-minute offense. I just think you need to walk away from this game seeing that even if they weren't executed effectively, that the ability to do that was there. And it's the first preseason game. I think, based on what we've heard so far, don't keep Mac in there for a quarter. I know you only have 3 preseason games anymore right now, but if you have doubts that his line can protect him, don't take that chance. But what I'd like to see coming out of this game is, I want to know, is Damian Harris the same running back that we thought he was? Is he their number one or their first down back? Is Ramondre Stevenson, is he going to be able to be that James White pass catching back out of the backfield, not just screens, but also like those HB angle routes? And then where does Ty Montgomery fit into this? And if we have those answers, if we get a good glimpse of that, then I think that's a win. But to your point, it doesn't matter much. I don't care about titles, because if Wade Phillips was a defensive assistant on your coaching staff, that everything stops with him, right? My problem isn't the title. It's actually the person that's filling or not filling the title in the instance of the Patriots. Matt Patricia has proved time and time again that he's not a great defensive coordinator. I'm never going to give him credit for 2016, 2015, 2014. It's not going to happen. So we saw what he did to Detroit. It's hard to say that he ran the Lions into the ground, but when you come off the fact that they just had 2 winning seasons with their with the head coach before him, and then this idiot comes in there and just tries to Belichick, and he ran them into the ground. Joe Judge was run out of New York. Now, yes, Saquon Barkley wasn't always healthy, but if Daniel Jones is never a successful NFL quarterback, it's because of the ineptitude of Joe Judge. So these two should be nowhere near prominent figures in this organization, and they are, because they're buddies of Bill and they're on the cheap.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Oh,
I was just going to say, it's interesting, right? Because a lot of times they say it's bad. Well, they say it is bad for a quarterback to have so many offensive coordinators in a short period of time. And Mac essentially has had 3 in less than 2 seasons. So it's interesting. But I think to your point, Mike, and to the overall point, in-house, I bet you those guys have titles. In-house, they know what their title is, they know what their role is.
Yeah, it's just not on their WT. Like their titles like under the table. Like you're a 16-year-old construction worker.
Yeah,
right. Like
right.
that's. But like, make no mistake about it. Brian Hoyer is the quarterback's coach and probably the offensive coordinator for Mac.
So it's interesting you bring that up, and I was having this conversation with someone a couple weeks ago, and Ray, I want to get to your point, so hold on to it and don't lose it. There was always kind of speculation about Brian Hoyer. From what I understand, and I can't be quoted on this, so if Brian Hoyer listens to this and goes, "Wow, this guy's an idiot," you can send us an email and we'll set the record straight. But allegedly, Brian Hoyer is unvaccinated. And in the NFL, all coaches have to be vaccinated. So instead of retiring and becoming a coach, he's putting the helmet on and acting as the quarterback's coach on the sideline. Because I guarantee you, if you ask Tom Brady, who he credits with a lot of his success, he would say Brian Hoyer. It was always the first guy he went over to on the sideline, and Hoyer always seemed to have his back. So I'm with you, Mike. I think that's part of it. And I think they're kind of doing a workaround with him as well, where he still just happens to be wearing a uniform. But Ray, go ahead with your point.
Yeah, no. So two things, right? So the first thing, to me, I get what y'all said about y'all feel just more of a coach spotlight, but at the end of the day, coaches are going to coach and players are going to play, right? So, yeah, I want to see if Tyquan Thornton can separate. I want to see if Jonathan Smith's going to get a few catches. I want to see if, and not even just catches, how was he pass blocking? Is he making the right reads if he has an option on the play? Like, I want to see that, because once again, Jonathan Smith, we need to see a progression from him. There's some other guys. I want to see. I mean, me and you, Joe, we love Kendrick Bourne. We thought Kendrick Bourne was phenomenal. Last year, how we feel about Stevenson. Like we're on the, like we are the president and vice president of the Ramondre Stevenson fan club. Like, for the moment we watched the tape, we was like, hey, we're on the bandwagon. Get this guy on the field as much as, so love his game. So yeah, I want to see that. So I'm not, I mean, yes, I want to see the coaches have some type of rhythm with play calling, but the offense for sure needs as many reps as possible. Like, I'm not going to just thinking that this needs to be a Bailey Zappi show. Now, once again, if he comes out there and has a great moment, doesn't mean I would hope that he's not going to be the guy that takes over Mac Jones' job. But once again, it goes back to the 2001 quote: TEAM, team, as in team. I make the best decision for the team. I hope that that's not something that he thinks Bailey Zappi is the guy for the team, but then once again, if you're on the 53-man roster, you're expected to contribute. But as far as the coordinators go, I'm just having them cutting corners, and this is what the times it goes back to how they find players, just how they sign people. Say, look, just give someone a title. Like, it's not that deep if you're giving someone an extra $500,000. Like, Bill, we talked about this last year on the show. Bill's getting stupid money to be the coach and the GM. Like, bro, $500,000 for another. It's not that serious when you got money allocated to other stuff. It's just not that deep. So just get the title, say it out there. It's fine. And once again, defined roles matter. I am a teacher. I'm telling you, defined roles matter. Believe me.
But that's the thing, is they could be defined behind the scenes. They could be defined behind the scenes. Like, yeah, all right, hey, cool. Like, Gerard Mayo, you're the DC.
I think Mayo is. I agree with you. I think Mayo definitely. The reason why I feel like he hasn't said it publicly or whatever, he still coddles his son, and I get it, right? Because it's like, if you're working with your kid, you're like, even though he's older, you're like, you still want to be like, well, yeah, I want you working next to me, because with son and father and son, but it's like you're not doing nothing. Like, you was famous for having your tongue out on the sideline, and that's what we don't remember no play calls he made. We remember him leaning over and his tongue out like he was doing, like he was microphoning his.
Got more personality than his dad.
Yeah, for sure. But it's like, yeah, Mayo. Listen, Mayo's the one that's getting the head coaching interviews. He's definitely the DC, but let's not. That's for sure. But it's less certain, or it's uncertain on the offensive side. They said Matt Patricia had experience doing that before, but listen, I don't want him anywhere near.
Well, he was calling the plays in Detroit.
Yeah, but it's yeah. I mean, but we saw that. I mean,
I'm
it's
just,
like,
I'm just saying that's
we
where
saw that.
the hits came from.
I got you, cool. But I'm like, yeah. Once again, I mean, yes, they had a nice little win against us a week 3 a few years ago when he was there. Like they dominated us. I remember that game. But other than that, because they was really up in that game. So it's like, you know what? Actually, I'll speak to that. If you could give that type of performance, Matt Patricia, when we came up there to Detroit and y'all beat us 26-10, trust me, then I'm on board. I'm not complaining. I'll bitch about something else. But if you're coaching like how I'm a coach on the sideline at the YMCA, that's a problem. Get it together. I need to see better come Thursday night. So whether it's the coaching, whether it's the playing, like, we need to see more.
I would love to see Ray with a pencil in his ear.
Well, just on the sideline, not just
Yeah.
in the class, sure, but I haven't done it. I got to get on the sideline at some point.
I think like this entire conversation I think it just highlights the point that it's a players league, right? Like if you're out there, like make the play. This is the first year, I think, definitely since we've been doing this, and I'd say in the last 20, that we don't have faith in the coaches putting the players in the best positions to make the play.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Right.
And that is something that you never thought you would hear said about a Bill Belichick coach team. And maybe he makes me in particular, I'll take the heat for this, me look like a jackass. Won't be the first time, definitely won't be the last time. I just find it, I don't think we're going to hear at the end of the season that the Patriots ran a work offensive savant and juggernaut, and that was led by Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Like that makes me want to vomit in my mouth.
So
I know when you got guys out there like Steve Sarkisian and Bill O'Brien. And,
well, say what you want about googly eyes Adam Gase. Like he knows how to call an offense. He can't head coach.
And that's the thing, right? Like early in this offseason, there was rumors of him coming to New England. And it's like, you know what? Now I'm looking at it thinking maybe Adam Gase might have been a good choice. But actually,
that's wild. That's a big. Listen, if you haven't heard this show, woo, that is a very big statement from Mr. Malkin. So that bravo for growth.
You know, a quarterback, right? Like he can develop a quarterback. It's the way I look at Frank Reich and Doug Peterson, except those two guys can be the head coach of NFL teams, at least to a certain point. Adam Gase cannot be a head coach.
Right.
But he could be an offensive coordinator. So Mike, it goes back to what you said before. It's the good old boys club. It's his buddies in town, and that's the way it's amazing to see how far this staff has deteriorated in the last 22 years to what it is now. I mean, when we were 13, or in Ray's case, 11, and the Patriots started winning Super Bowls, like the coaching staff, without mentioning the special teams coordinator, it was Bill Belichick as the head coach, Romeo Crennel as the defensive coordinator, and Charlie Weiss as the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, it was Parcells.
Well, right. It was those were Parcells guys, and then it was when Bill took over the team, and that's who he brought in, and now we've deteriorated to the point where we have multiple failed head coaches. I got to tell you what, too, and this might be another surprise. I want to see the Las Vegas Raiders succeed, maybe more than any other team in the AFC this year, because I want to see Josh McDaniels shove it to the league. I just want to see him do that out there. And watching that Hall of Fame game last week was a lot of fun, seeing him on the sidelines. He gave Richard Seymour a big hug on the sideline. Like, that was pretty cool. Like, he looks happier out there, man. He looks younger. He looks like he's just happy in Vegas. I mean, who wouldn't be happy?
Like, to your original point, though, right? And to what started this discussion, like there are people out there that are a good first mate, but are a terrible captain. And it takes you a couple times to figure that out. Brock Osweiler's grandchildren are already rich because of Adam Gase. So he can develop quarterbacks, and he can even scheme up an offense. What he can't do is build an entire coaching staff under him and lead to a successful year for a team. So you bring in somebody like that, like the easiest and the most logical thing that they could have done was bring in Bill O'Brien. Been here before.
I think because of the whole Alabama thing, I just don't think it was going to happen. But
why?
That's besides the point.
But like I said, Sarkisian would have been a good choice too. But like you said, Bill, that was the easiest decision.
Unless not to cut you off, Ray.
That's what,
and not to cut you, but I think the fact that those guys that are those people that have been linked to Bill before in the past, Bill has been here before. The fact those people weren't brought in, I think speaks to the overall thought that Belichick did not want that offense that had been run for the last 22 years to continue to be run. I think he wanted to, for whatever reason, either change it up or dial it back, because we always heard when receivers would come in. I mean, Chad Ochocinco came in and said that the playbook was like calculus, right? It's hard to bring in other receivers from that have played in the league into the system. I mean, there's been one person that was a successful wide receiver before they got here and was successful here, and it was Randy Moss. Now, Brandon Cooks to a certain extent too, but everyone else they could do. Chad Ochocinco was a pretty much a Hall of Famer. Came here, was the best person in practice, but couldn't get on the field. He just couldn't do it. Like he could. Reggie Wayne retired as opposed to playing for us. I mean, JJ Stokes in 2003 looked like he could not find himself out there. So
Torrey Holt too.
Torrey Holt. I mean, the list, it feels like it goes on. So maybe it speaks to the overall thought that, maybe they invoked more of the Kyle Shanahan or Mike Shanahan like offense, the offensive scheme into it, make it a little bit easier. But the fact that someone like Billy O'Brien was not brought in here tells you that Belichick wanted to take this into a different direction. Aside from the whole, it's the old boys club. I think this is a clear indication that what we're going to see this year is going to be remarkably different than what we've seen in the last 20.
So speaking of that, Ray, what are your expectations right now, 2 weeks into camp? I'm not saying give me your prediction for the entire year, but what are your expectations based on what you've seen so far heading into the regular season?
Like just for Thursday's game, or just going into week one?
No, just in general, going into week one, the start of the season.
So I think just to make a bold prediction, I think the defense will be better than we believe. I kind of alluded to that earlier. I think the defense will be in the top half. So maybe they'll be 11th or 12th overall. I'm excited to see what Judon does. I'm excited to see what Uche does. He's had a good camp. I'm excited to see, because Jennings basically has redshirted since 2019. So I'm like, I want to see, 2020. So I want to see what he does. Listen, Duggar, I know he's a little bit older because obviously he got drafted out of Little Rhyme. It was the D2 school, but and we watched the tape and we said it. He was Ronnie Harrison 2.0. He's been the guy on defense, for me. So, to me, he's already better than Patrick Chung was, and I know that's not much. That's how I know that Mike will agree with that wholeheartedly. I know Mike understand Patrick Chung, but I just think, to me, the defense is going to be in the top half. So maybe, right outside that top 10, maybe top 10, and then the defense. I mean, the offense may. I think the offense will struggle early on, and then around week 8 or so, they'll start to catch fire.
Mike, is it possible that all this, and this kind of goes into what your expectations are here, but is it possible that all of this nonsense and, all these quote unquote distractions and the stuff going on at camp could just be a ruse, and we're going to see a Patriots team that's going to come out of, like bats out of hell, or what should we expect?
I think it is possible that what we're seeing in the first 15 days of training camp is different than what we're going to see in the last, the last week and leading up to the start of the regular season. I think that the defense has to be a top 10 defense in the first 8 weeks of the season for this team to have a chance. And if they can do that, then that's a testament to Bill. I mean, it just is. There's no way around that. But like what you want to see out of this team, and just remember, for all those that are old enough to remember this, the 2001 Patriot offense did not set the world on fire. Now they did have certain playmakers on offense, most notably Tom Brady, but they were anchored by the defense. If this becomes a dink and dunk offense with the ability to have 1 to 4 wild plays every game, then you have a chance to have a 10-7 season. But if you can't protect Mac, and you can't protect Mac against a line that got absolutely no penetration against every other quarterback or offensive line that they faced in the last 3 games of last season, then you're in trouble. Then it's, I think you might send Patricia back to Detroit and Joe back to New York.
No.
Well, I don't think
Send him home regardless. Send him home.
Yeah, I don't think either one of those cities wants to see him. So, guys, let's go around this Patriots offense and defense. Ray, let's go to you. You started with the defense in your expectations, and give me the strongest point of the defense and give me your weakest point of this Patriots defense.
So, I mean, listen, the front seven is still the strongest. We know Bill bigger guys up front. We already alluded to Barmore earlier versus the guy in the fight with Andrews, but Christian Barmore has the potential to be in the realm of Seymour, Wolford, Ty Warren, those Wolves. I mean, Ty Warren was as good as the other guys, but those are guys that were, big on the team that won early on. So yeah, I think to me, the defense is definitely ahead of the offense. And once again, I think Uche, I think he's the only defensive player left here from the 2019 draft, I believe, because I know Winovich got dealt to Cleveland. So yeah, and even the guy that came in that they traded for was
Mac.
Is it Mac Wilson? Yeah, Mac Wilson. So, yeah, like I'm hopefully that he can do some things too that Winovich was able to do. Because he just wasn't trying to listen, or he just wasn't disciplined enough. But yeah, I actually think Malcolm Butler will be okay. I know that that's not a popular opinion, obviously. I think it's the easy narrative to say that he's going to be, terrible because he now is a few years older than when obviously he left there, last time back in 2018. But if I'm him, it's like, yo, you got a ship, you got something to prove, dog. Like, there's no one that's expecting him to be a decent corner. Like, no one. Like, whether they got rose-colored, Patriot colored glasses or not, there's no one expecting him to do well. And once again, you already overcome a lot of stuff because he was undrafted. Dog, show him why you ended up getting that deal from Tennessee. Like, show him why that you still got that dog in you. So I'm excited to see what he does personally. I'm open Jalen Mills could be serviceable at least. Once again, we're not looking for you. You're not going to be JC. Like, we know that you're not going to be JC. You're not going to be Gilmore. Like, you're not going to be any of those guys. But just be serviceable. Just be playable, please. But that's just on the defense side. Offense, I think Devontae Parker's will have a phenomenal season, and I know it's been talked about by him not being able to separate right now. But I like that catch that he made early on in training camp. I just think when you get a guy that's 6'3" that can just go get it, that changes things. And once again, Max throws a beautiful, beautiful ball, and I feel like he's going to find him on many 35s. And he may just be a possession guy, and that's fine. But anything is better than what we had the last few years. So I'm excited to see what he does. And like the rookie from Baylor, Thornton, like I'm excited to see what he does. I think that he, once again, is not going to have like 70 or 80 catches. Like, you're not going to see him have like a Justin Jefferson, type impact. But yeah, can he get 40 catches for like 500 yards and maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns? I could totally see that happening. And if that's the case, then we should be in business at some point. But I just think that a lot of that stuff comes later on in the year. So we have to be patient, which is hard for us up here because we done.
No.
Well, it's tough to be tough to be patient when most of the front offices of the teams that you cheer for are seemingly incompetent, including the Patriots.
Yep.
That's just the way it's been going in this city for the last 6 to 12 months, with the exception of the Boston Celtics. But this show isn't about them. So and Ray, you mentioned how the secondary is going to play, and it kind of brings back another parallel, Mike, to that 2001 team where there was a lot of floating defensive pieces. Now, the defense was really good. They played a lot of zone coverage, had some man coverages mixed in, but that's the kind of defense they're going to have to play this year without a true number one corner. Now, in 2001, they obviously had a true number one corner, one of the best of all time. That they do not have this year. So it's going to be kind of defensive back by committee. What do you I know we kind of going deep position by position here. Where are the weaknesses on both sides of the ball, and how do the Patriots overcome those?
So on defense, as it's currently constituted, I think the weaknesses are it's the backfield, right? It's your corners, and that's just because of what you saw to Jalen Mills last year, and the fact that yes, I do think Malcolm Butler has the opportunity to prove people wrong, and I hope that he does. The difference between 2014 Malcolm Butler and 2022 Malcolm Butler is 2014 he could actually run. He was out of the league last year because he wasn't fast, and you can't be small and not fast. You got to do one or the other, right? Like if you're tall, you can give up some speed because you have the length. So we'll see what happens. I think Bill has a knack for finding DBs though. I mean, you said like he's not going to be JC. Who was JC before he was here? Like that's a byproduct of Bill put him in the right situation. Well, he had all the talent. Everyone else passed him up.
It was Malcolm.
Right. Everyone else passed up on him, but we've seen just a laundry list of terrible DBs in here since their first run. I think we need to see how much Evan McCourty has left in the tank. We need to see what's going to look like if he can't play center field the way that he used to. I mean, he could always, if he could just roam, and you could always count on him to get somewhere to bring up a pass. I think that the front seven is the best part of the defense strictly because the DBs are so bad. And I think this might look like a 2011 New England Patriots defense, bend but don't break, more than it will look like a 2014 defense, with Revis, Browner, McCourty, Chung. But on the offensive side, you're going to need instant productivity from Devontae Parker, and I'm completely okay with if him being there makes Nelson Aguilar and everybody else better. If you see those other receivers or those other pieces have less press coverage and they're open, that's because Devontae Parker's there. Like you have to account for him. So he's going to be my the one I'm looking out for. And then also, Ray, you mentioned earlier in the show, like we're expecting progress or a better season from Jonnu Smith. It's because you can't get worse, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you paid $80 million for Dalton Keene, and you already had him. That's what last year looked like. Now, I'm a big fan of Jonnu Smith. I'm actually, if you want to go back to the archives, I said I'd rather Jonnu Smith over that 6'5", 250-pound made of glass Hunter Henry. Turns out I was wrong about that. But if the line is what it appears to be so far, Max you're not going to get a lot out of Damian Harris. You're not going to get a lot out of Ramondre Stevenson. So you're going to need those quick hits. And I think Parker and Kendrick Bourne are going to be the two pieces that facilitate the offense to get them into a place in the latter part of the year where they can bring in Aguilar and extend the field.
A few weeks ago, we talked about the NFL as a whole and where we thought teams were going to finish, who was going to win each division. Coming off of what we just talked about, what's going to be the weakest, what's going to be the strongest. I think the weakest part of the offense is going to be the offensive line. I think it's going to be really tough. You lose a guy like Ted Karras, and everybody else is a year older. I mean, they've lost some big pieces on that offensive line and really failed to replace them. Although Cole Strange is apparently getting good reviews at camp, allegedly. So we'll see how that works out. But looking at the AFC East, we talked about this a little bit, right? Do we all agree that the AFC East, until proven otherwise, currently belongs to the Buffalo Bills?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So looking at the other two teams in the division, Miami just has their issues off the field. There's another scumbag owner who got caught in his nonsense, and there's probably more coming down the pike for Stephen.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off, but like when you said that their biggest weakness on the offense is the offensive line.
Mhm.
Not to play devil's advocate, but to play devil's advocate, didn't we feel the same way in 2014 when Scarnecchio was gone and Dave Guglielmo, or whatever the hell his name was the offensive line coach, and then they traded Logan Mankins? Like, we thought that this was going to all fall apart. Turns out they won a Super Bowl that year. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win a Super Bowl this year, but I feel like Bill knows how to scheme the offensive line. I don't know why. I just feel like he knows how to do it.
Well, he does, but I mean, can they protect you? I mean, you said it a little while ago, like, can they protect the second-year quarterback who's been running rampant at practice because they can't protect him? I mean, there's something to be said on both sides of that. Sure, I mean, when you're running against your own defense, I mean, that's another thing too that Ray kind of alluded to. Like, the defense is usually ahead of the offense at this point, especially in a Patriots camp. So does that mean that the defense is just that far ahead because they're trying to implement a new offense? But a big part of that team, Mike, in 2014, that was also the season where when they were 2-2, I said put a fork in them, and you famously said, not so
12
fast. Yeah, and then they went 12-4 and won the Super Bowl.
Well, yeah,
So-
they didn't lose another game that year.
Yeah, they didn't lose another game, right? So, but a big difference, and I hate going here because he isn't, never will be, and I don't expect him to be. But Tom Brady was the quarterback of that team,
Right.
and hopefully Mac Jones can be the Mac Jones of this team and turn that around. I don't think anyone in their right mind would put money on the Patriots to win the Super Bowl, expecting them to actually win the Super Bowl this year.
Sure.
But
Hey, it depends on what the leaps, like, if Mac takes not a small leap, but like a quantum, like a huge leap, like, that's not out the realm of possibility to at least get to the divisional round. Like, that's not for, once again, they got to the wild card, and he was a rookie, obviously this past season. So to me, I just think it's always, I feel like it's always something where we always expect other teams to get better. I feel like it's like a Boston thing. Like, oh, well, this team got better, and this team is now healthy again. They're gonna kill this, and then it gets here, and it's always like, well, what if this and what if that? Was like, yo, well, what if Mac Jones gets better? What if the receivers find a way to start running better routes? What if the offensive line is figuring it out? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's plenty of things that can end up going right. Then we say, damn. And it's funny. I just showed you and I did Joe last year when I said just when you thought it was safe after they won 7 in a row before heading up to Indianapolis. So I expect to say, and just again, if they go on a run this year, I'll say the same damn thing. Just when you thought it was safe, they're back. And don't think that the team is going to lay down just because there's so many uncertainties. Once again, we've seen this in the past. Yes, the personnel was different. The coaching staff was different. I get that. But I know we gotta fill it with content. We gotta be on Twitter going crazy. But just chill. give it time. Let it see unfold. Now we get to week 7, week 8, and the team was looking wild. Then yeah, unload, go crazy. I know that's not going to happen because week 1 they may lose 20-17, and now they're going to go 1-16. Like that. That's just how it works around here, or just NFL Twitter in general. So, but yeah, like I just like to just let it simmer, let it marinate. Just see how it unfolds. Once again, a lot of stuff can fall our way, and it's like next thing you know, for the 7th time in franchise history, tonight the Patriots are world champions. Just saying.
And this isn't me doing my famous, I'm going to give you a sell job here and try and sell you on what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But there is a few things to be said about Joe Judge Matt Patricia, Gerard Mayo, Steve Belichick, Brian Belichick, all the guys that have been here are back for a second round, is that they've coached with Bill Belichick. They know what he expects. They know what he wants. They know how to implement it. And Mike, just like you said, you'll never give credit to Matt Patricia for his defenses for those 3 years. You give it to Bill Belichick, right? But who was the shell company, if you will, that was overseeing that? It was Matt Patricia. Now, I'm not giving Matt Patricia any credit, and I'm not trying to sell us on Matt Patricia and Joe Judge running the offense. All I'm saying is they've been here before. They've won Super Bowls. They know how to coach with Bill Belichick. So Ray, maybe all that stuff does fall into place.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe these coaches do figure that out. But around the AFC East, Mike, you do have teams that have gotten better, including the Buffalo Bills, who walloped you in the playoffs in Buffalo, in their house. You have Miami, who I'm not sold on Tua. I don't think I'll ever be sold on Tua. But they got better.
But they got head better. Coach, I'm not even concerned. I'm not.
What? Stop. First of all, they have Tyreek Hill. Say what you want about him personally, whatever you want to say. On the field, if you feel like your quarterback is not a good down the field passer, go and get yourself a receiver that can catch it 5 yards off the line of scrimmage and then run the other 95. And that's what they did. And I love you, Malcolm. Mean it. Like, thank you for 2014. You think Malcolm Butler is going to play one-on-one against Tyreek Hill?
No, not going to be Jonathan Jones. You know that. He's not lined up against Tyreek Hill.
So Jonathan Jones can run a 4.1 40.
I mean, he's their fastest corner. I think Jack Jones is coming in from Houston. I think he's going to be their fastest guy. But yeah, Jonathan Jones is going to be the guy. Listen, let's put this disclaimer out there. There's no one that can keep up with Tyreek Hill. So let's not make it seem like it's only a Patriot thing. No one in the NFL can keep up with Tyreek Hill when he's on. Just saying.
2016 NFL Scouting Combine, Jonathan Jones ran a 4.2840.
Yeah, so yeah, he's the guy that's going to be on. That's that. We saw it in the AFC Championship game. You know, obviously he had a few moments where he broke away because he's a cheetah. But at the end of the day, you know, he was home watching us, you know, and still won 53. But I mean, I'll be saying that Tua's going to turn to left-handed Drew Brees. So is that what we're saying? Is that because he now has Tyreek Hill?
If Tua turns into the Drew Brees that played in his final season during COVID, then Miami is going to win 12 games. Some guy that can't pass more than 25 yards on the field, but doesn't need to anymore because now he has. I mean, if you just think about the skill position on offense, yeah, Tua may not be great, but if he's just serviceable, and Tyreek Hill does his job, and the second year out of Alabama does his job, and Gesicki does his job. Like, that is a
they got the weapons, but you got to have the guy. Like I think Gesicki is a beast. I think he is. And listen, I mean, you know how I feel about. I mean, even though I'm a Gators fan, you know how I feel about Alabama wide receiver. So, you know,
but you got
praise at the job.
Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Gesicki. Tua just doesn't have to suck. If he can literally be what Peyton Manning was in 2015, they were really like that's a good offense.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel built the 2015 Carolina Panthers around Tua Tagovailoa. Like, that's what they did. They just gave him what Cam Newton had in 2015, his MVP.
This core is better than what Carolina had.
Yeah, really, it took a lot.
Cam was just Cam. Once again, we know how we feel about what happened to.
Yeah, but Cam,
that year was unreal. He was a different guy at that time. He made it for a lot of stuff that they just lacked. You know, shout out to my guy Greg Olsen. But so yeah, they I don't know, but to me, Tua's not I'm not sold, and I get it. All he has to do is just not suck. But I mean, my thing, I would feel better even if they had someone like Kirk Cousins there.
Kirk, no.
Yeah, would that
stop. No, Cousins
Kirk not better than Tua. Okay, go ahead.
Kirk Cousins has more talent than Tua, but he cannot resist that deep 40-yard pass to his detriment. Like he needs it. He needs it like you and I need oxygen. Tua,
Ooh, not my problem.
he actually
Hey, to win the division.
I'm just saying though, like,
it's not my problem. That's why I want that to happen. Go down to South Beach. I'll tell you, go Kirk.
gun to head right now on that squad, I would rather have Tua than Kirk Cousins.
That's I don't know, that may not age well, but hey,
I don't know. I've ever heard those two quarterbacks' names said in the same sentence.
Yeah, this much too. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This much. It's a lot.
So I'm
gonna age well, by the way.
I don't want to get hung up on the Miami Dolphins, but Mike McDaniel, who comes out of the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, has Darrell Bevell as his quarterbacks coach and Frank Smith as his offensive coordinator. Guys who are used to developing quarterbacks and building offensive lines. So Tua may be all right down there. I think Miami's going to be fun to watch. Like I think this division is going to be fun to watch. I think the Jets, to kind of change gears, are going to be fun to watch as well. You know, they seem to be having fun. The videos that I've seen out of Jets camp.
I mean, Zach Wilson's been having a lot of fun.
Zach Wilson's been having too much fun with his mom's friends, but Craig comes back for that, of course. But up in New York, and I've said it before, how I feel about their head coach as well.
You and I love him. We love.
Yeah.
He's been awesome.
And for some reason, I can't remember his first name, Robert Salah. He's put together a pretty good staff up there. They brought in some pretty good talent. They had some pretty good talent, and I think he's a player's coach who's going to bring this team together. Now, I still think they're the redheaded stepchild of the AFC East. I still think they finished fourth, and second is up for grabs between the Patriots and the Dolphins. But
I think the Patriots are closer to the Jets than they are to the Bills.
Yeah, right now,
Mac Jones and the New England Patriots are closer to Zach Wilson and the New York Jets than they are to Kyle Allen and the Buffalo Bills.
Josh Allen. I don't like Kyle. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think as of right now, I said this back after the draft, and I'll repeat it now. The Patriots are the third best team in the AFC East.
So on paper.
On paper, and aside from Bill Belichick, their coaching staff, yes. Yeah, I think that.
Yeah, I mean, as you always say, good thing paper champions don't always get the job done, because that to me.
I said that last year about the Rams, and they won.
Yeah, no, that's true. They also different. Yeah. 99 is a little different though, so I get it. But no, I don't know. I mean, I can't say that's a bold statement, because I guess right now they're closer to going 6-11 than they are 11-6 right now. But they can very well be 11-6 at season's end. I do think that the Jets will win 7 or 8 games. I do. I just think that they'll luck their way in. Like I said, I like the picks they made. They had like 3 first rounders, and they to me they won the draft in my opinion. But we'll see. We'll see. Like I said, Garrett Wilson is going to be. I think he's going to be a problem. I really do. And I think did they get Stingley? No, was the Stingley? No, they got Sauce. They got Sauce Gardner. They got Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati, and that dude is lethal. Like, so Kendrick Bourne, Jacoby, your boys better be ready, because they got some corners out there in this AFC East. So whether it's Tre'Davious White, Micah Hyde.
They can't separate from Malcolm Butler and Jalen Mills.
Cool. I'm saying, but they better figure it out, because I said
hey, maybe that's a good thing for the Patriots.
What, they can't separate?
Let's spin it. Great defense.
High draft pick.
Great defense.
Yeah, but I'm like this. I mean, granted, there's no one coming out next year that I could think of right away. I mean, until we do like a deep dive into it, I can be like, they would be a game changer coming in right now. Like, I'm not concerned with that. Like, you cannot spend the money you spent 2 years ago, and then, bring in who you bring in, and then not at least compete to get into the playoffs. Once again, not going to win the Super Bowl every year, but at least get into, the playoffs. And I know that's not the standard here. It's not to be number 2, but once again, you have to build back up to what you were. You lost the greatest football player of all time. There's going to be a setback. But now this is another year removed from that. It's another year for guys to get better. Figure that shit out. It's just that simple. So yeah, fine. The division's tougher than it's ever been since he's been there. Okay, figure that shit out. You're still the best coach in that division. You know, I'm not. It's not even it's not by far now, but he still got the edge. So
By far.
Yeah, it's not by far.
It's by far.
Right now, it's not by far. It has been by far for a while, but it's not by far right now.
We don't have enough time.
We don't.
I don't have enough time.
I mean, what you just talked about Buffalo being the best guys. I mean, Sean McDermott's in a hell of a job up there. I mean, we're not gonna give him credit up there for what he's done up there in Buffalo. What's the they've had a lot of guys come up there and they ain't done what he's done. Just saying. So he's done a hell of a job. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that he's built. That's so. So let's not get crazy. I'm just
Sean McDermott if Sean McDermott won 10 games with JP Lawson, then yeah, I'd say that it's close. He won it with Josh Allen. Okay, so like let's but again, I mean, with the argument for Bill is, but like the argument for Bill is Bill's only done it with Tom. So I get it, but I just don't think I think Bill's still by far the best coach in the league. I don't think it's close, but I think to his detriment, he thinks that now too, and now no longer surrounds himself with people that makes him better. He just surrounds himself with yes men.
Yep, that's the problem.
So the college football season, which we'll be able to dive more into as we go on to check on that high draft pick that Mike just predicted the Patriots are going to have. The college football season starts week 0, August 27th, headlined arguably by Vanderbilt at Hawaii at 10:30.
Well, we might be at Hawaii according to Mike.
Late at night college football on a Saturday, you turn on the TV and there's Hawaii hosting some SWAC team or it's the best. And then the NFL football season begins on Thursday, September 8th, between the Buffalo Bills and the Los Angeles Rams at SoFi Stadium. The Patriots will play at the Dolphins at 1:00 on Sunday, September 11th. And the Patriots don't have a home game until week 3. So they're away for the first 2 weeks.
Good.
Yeah, against Baltimore, right? Yeah, it's against Baltimore. I'm trying to go to the game.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there. So
I looked at the schedule the other day. They only have one 4:00 game this season.
Yeah, they only have there's only one home primetime game, which is against
you know what that means, right?
They stink.
Yeah, we're gonna be that good.
Well, they do have 4 primetime games in a row late in the season now.
Yeah. They still have the 5 games.
It's probably against Buffalo and like some other team.
Well, the Thanksgiving game against Minnesota too.
We can go over that as we get closer to the regular season.
Nice. Okay.
And we talk to hopefully our friend down on the beat. But so thank you for joining us for this episode of What's Going On with the New England Patriots. I am Joe Malkin for Rayshawn Buchanan and Marcangelo and our executive producer Craig D'Alessandro. We'll talk to you next time.